Yes, good evening. This is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of this show. I'm the great urban translator. Now that they have found that fraud gator that was in the swamp over in Humboldt Park, a lot of people really thought that that was me over in that community trying to register people to vote so they can vote early in the 2020 election. That was not me. I'm glad that they caught that guy that was in the swamp. But when I saw the gator on the news and I saw ducks swimming around him, I knew then that was a house raised gator. But now he's in Florida. I guess he's back with his peeps and all that. But this show is very important. It's going to be very enlightening. I want to say that it was made possible by the producer of this show, who happens to be the chairman of United in Peace Inc., and I'm the president of United in Peace Inc. And not only is she the chairman, she also someone that I call a blessing from God, and that is none other than my wife, Terry Marsh. I want to say to God be the glory, and let's get into the business at hand. It seems like there is a move afoot to eradicate criminal justice reform within Cook County up under the leadership of Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle and all the other people that have a vested interest in helping to eradicate the violence within the city of Chicago. Tony is the one that's leading the criminal justice reform. The Fraternal Order of Police and those that siding with them, including the ultra racist guys that came to town April 1st to join a protest with the Fraternal Order of Police against the state's attorney. Now we see that it seems that the narrative that's trying to be created is a false narrative. To me, based on facts, that individuals that's receiving bonds because of the reform with the bond system are responsible for the violence in the city of Chicago. And that's not true. And we're going to get into that. We're going to deal with the facts, because when the Fraternal Order of Police, this guy here, I've never seen him come out and he say he's so concerned about crime. I've never seen him come out and lead a protest against police officers that break the law. Hear me out. I've never seen this guy that says he's so concerned about the eradication of crime in the city of Chicago come out against police officers that engage in criminal activity. He writes a letter and he says he wants to get rid of Kim Foxx because when an officer is a victim, she let the people go. That's not true. It's a 90+ rating of individuals who make the police officer a victim. get found guilty. Caller, I see you. State your name, please.
Yeah,
Caller.
this is James.
Hey,
Can you
James.
hear me? Okay, now, Lightfoot is the mayor, right? Now, okay, when she told Donald Trump and ISIS police to back off against the illegal immigrant, why don't she come in front of the media and tell Chicago police to back up? But she ain't gonna never do that because she loves the police.
Right? Well, you know, I'm glad that you brought that up because we got to understand this here. This is not a knock against Lori. But I had a show where I interviewed President Prattwinkle. It was a post-election interview. After Lori had won with the great mandate from the people, and I explained to my viewing audience, a lot of the people that voted for Lori was because they wanted Tony to remain the county board president. Okay? And I told the president then, soon as there is a perceived failure with something within Mayor Lori's administration or up under her leadership, they're going to immediately try to blame President Prattwinkle. I said that. And here we are. When you see Mayor, she says the election is over. Political feud isn't. Lightfoot fires back at Prattwinkle on crime. Well, she fired back on Prattwinkle about crime. Because one of the things during the interview that I had with President Prattwinkle, she let it be known publicly that she had no problem with working with the mayor, like she worked with other mayors, which was wrong. So the narrative that they're putting out there that the reason that the violence is happening is because people are getting out on bond who have been arrested. If that was the case, it would be less shootings. Because what I'm seeing from the stats that Mayor Lori says she wants, and from what I read in the newspaper statement from the mayor, she says, but first, as Lightfoot reminded reporters about the sound defeat she handed Prattwinkle in April mayoral runoff, what that got to do with your administration as the mayor of the city of Chicago? You the mayor now. You got to administrate, not blame others. Everything that falls up under you, good and bad, is up under your watch. It says, so the questions about the letter that President Prattwinkle wrote, and we're going to get into that letter, wrote, the nice letter I got from Tony Prattwinkle, Lightfoot said at a news conference about the preparations for the expected extreme heat this weekend. Well, it's July. It's not March. The election's over. True. And we had a result. True. And Lori won. Which is true. So we're going to continue to take the high road, but you start off on the low road. You start off on the low road, then you say you're going to go to a high road. When the high road should have been taken, however way you want to word it, from the get-go, by the fact that we all, the governor, the mayor, the county board president, the legislators, and the congressman and the U.S. senator that's representing us, along with the aldermen, have to come together cohesively. I'm of the opinion that each one of those bodies of government that I named have an opinion on what can be done to help turn the tide on the violence. And the first thing is not blame the other. Do what you do with what the people elected you to do, and deal with the resources that you have to help bring this together. Take all of us. Okay? So, Lightfoot then reads the statistics about the arrests for gun offenses in Chicago over the July 4th weekend. The shooting, everybody knows those stats about the shootings. They weren't all by individuals who got out on bond. This is what I'm trying to say. It's not no Trump situation, no alternative, no fake news. Them individuals that came out that did the shootings weren't all individuals who got out on bond and came back on the streets and started shooting each other again or shooting at other people again. So if that's not the true fact, why put a narrative out there like it's because of the judges that made a decision if an individual should be let out on bond? And we're going to get off into that too. I got an hour. Because we can't be playing with this and get bamboozled and the Fraternal Order Police that engage in cover-ups of crimes, from police torture to police brutality to the murder that's being done by police officers and a host of other misconduct. I haven't heard the president of the Fraternal Order Police stand up and say that police misconduct must stop. Police brutality must stop. The murder by police officers must stop. He ain't said it. And if he ain't speaking against it, he got to be with it. So they push the narrative to put a state's attorney in there like we had when Daley was there, when Devine was there, when Anita Alvarez was there. And that ain't right for the people in the city of Chicago, nor the people in the county of Cook, especially African Americans and the Hispanic community, or the Latinx, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and or for the Caucasian community. The young guy that got killed in a fight on Rush Street, he wasn't Hispanic. He wasn't African American. He was a Caucasian. Yet because of the cover-up, the person that did it got, 60 days? And end up going to a jail outside of Cook County and end up paying. He paid for his stay in that jail. We talking about Daley's nephew. Read the Sun-Times story. They did a whole series on it because they knew that it wasn't right. So now that this man's attacked, and then for the mayor, I have to agree with Tony. For the mayor and them to lead and place the blame president of the county board and all the stakeholders that put together that bond piece to make it fair for individuals to get out, because it was unfair. The choice that them stakeholders made saved the county a lot of money. And then it's my understanding from what I'm reading in the paper, and I can't understand this. How come the superintendent and the mayor didn't meet with all the other stakeholders when an invitation from the county board president was extended in order for them to work together? So if someone sent an invitation and say, come on, let's work together to help solve this problem, and you don't come, and then you come and create a narrative like that person that invited you that's doing something was wrong, I agree with the mayor. Campaign over. That you did to win was the right thing to do because it was a campaign. Now you got 4 years. And you can't blame Tony. You can't blame JB. You can't blame Gator. So let's get off into this. Starting with the letter. I want to read this letter so my viewing audience, listening audience, can get the full facts instead of sound bites. This is a letter to the Honorable Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of the city of Chicago. And it's encompassing on me and all the residents in the city of Chicago to aid and assist her to become a great mayor, especially when it comes to public safety. We all need to be brought in the room. Because when they go in the room or they have another room they ain't telling nobody, we in the city of Chicago feel the weight. They don't. They got 5 and 6 security people around them. One open the door, one look down the street, one look around the corner. For all we know, they might have a drone flying around them, let them know what's happening. Well, I ain't got that. And a lot of the citizens of Chicago ain't got that. But we know that if all the elected officials that have say-so over resources come together cohesively within a room, they'll make the county, the state, and the city better for the residents that live in the state of Illinois, the county of Cook, the city of Chicago, and all the other municipalities and townships within Cook County. Dear Mayor Lightfoot, I am writing on behalf of our shared constituents to extend another invitation. So when Lori tried to create that narrative, like Tony done something wrong, she extended an invitation to you and you didn't come. So the press conference should have been about why you didn't show up. On behalf of our shared constituents, to extend another invitation for us to meet to discuss the gun violence and that continues to plague Chicago, and develop new strategies to enhance the safety of our communities. Read that paragraph to you again. I am writing on behalf of our shared constituents. This don't sound like a letter from a fold. This sounds like a letter from a responsible elected official that's saying the March thing is over. You the mayor. Now let's get down. It's a historical thing. 2 women on the 5th floor. Let's get down. Let's show that we can do this thing. I am writing on behalf of our shared constituents to extend another invitation for us to meet to discuss the gun violence that continues to plague Chicago and develop new strategies to enhance the safety of our communities. Like the rest of the country, violent crime in Chicago continues to trend downward. Yet, despite this trend, gun violence continues to plague our city, especially communities of color on the south and west sides. Every weekend we lose precious lives, and many of our communities live in constant fear. I am saddened by this senseless violence, and I know you are too. I'm not the voice of a foe. I'm not the voice of someone that's against the mayor. That sounds like the voice of an elected official that has a responsibility and wanted to utilize her resources with the resources that the city got, or that the county president and the city get together and let the governor know what they need. And then the county board president and the mayor of the city of Chicago and the governor get together and let Washington know what they need. Yeah, they got to ask Trump for what they need, because Trump is the president. Whether we like him or not, he's the president. So those 3 bodies of government, the state, the governor, the county board president, I'm just talking about the county board. I know there's over 100 counties. And the mayor of the city of Chicago, I'm just talking about the mayor of the city of Chicago. I know there's a whole bunch of other mayors in Cook County and in the other counties. I'm just speaking about specifically the city of Chicago, the county of Cook, and the state of Illinois. If all 3 of them came together, they can make a demand where the president would have to give up the resources to help stop the violence in the city of Chicago and the county of Cook and the state of Illinois. Just that simple. But that's not Toni presenting herself as a foe or someone that's mad because Lori won the election. She said, come on, girl, let's get down. So we got to be real about this. All that, here come the new battle. They still political feuding. She ain't politically feuding with Lori, from what I'm reading in this letter. Over the last 3 years, through the MacArthur Safety and Justice Challenge, the county public safety and public health stakeholders have had an unprecedented level of collaboration to address bail reform. I welcome you to join these efforts in a more substantive way. We have an opportunity to leverage our combined resources. We have an opportunity to leverage our combined resources and experience to develop strategic solutions to reduce gun violence. However, Toni says, I am concerned that the false narrative being put forward by the Chicago Police Department Superintendent Eddie Johnson places significant blame on Cook County's reform bail system as the root cause for gun violence. We both. She said we both. Tony said me and you, Mayor. No, this simply is not true. And Lori knows it because she's a federal prosecutor. Okay? Criminal justice reform has always been one of the top priorities. It's the president. Criminal justice, President Tony Pratt-Winkle, not President Trump. Cook County Board President Tony Pratt-Winkle. Criminal justice reform has always been one of the top priorities of my administration, and I am proud of the outcomes we have achieved thus far, which have resulted in our safety, reducing the jail population while protecting defendants' constitutional rights. Cook County's bond system is not the reason behind gun violence in Chicago. Gun violence was at its highest in 2016, but since then, as we had instituted bail reform, the homicide rate and shootings has dropped substantially. I look forward to your response. That sounds like an invitation asking them to come to the table. Second time they asked them. Let's get to this criminal justice reform and give you an overview. The Cook County criminal justice stakeholders have been convening quarterly since 2014 to coordinate reforms for the criminal justice system. They've received technical support and funding from the MacArthur Foundation through the Safety and Justice Challenge. Okay? That focus on reducing jail population by implementing new strategies, reducing the system inefficiencies, providing community-based options for lower risk offenders. That's someone that's listening to the community. They have community folks at the table as being a part of stakeholders instead of just elected officials. That's something that I believe that the mayor should want to be about, because that's what she spoke about when she was running for office. Again, I'm not knocking her. We don't have that luxury to be knocking one another. Providing community-based options for lower risk offenders. Rebuilding community trust within the justice system. Using these strategies, Cook County has implemented an automated court reminder system. Reduced the jail population by almost 50%. That saved a lot of taxpayers' dollars. Because you had individuals that may have been locked up for trying to sell cigarettes, loose cigarettes, and they couldn't make $100 bond, and it's costing $100+ a day to feed that one individual. And you only had $100 bond, but it's costing them $100+ to feed him for one day. The least time that he in there waiting to go back to court is 30 days. So we're talking about well over $3,000 to feed an individual for a month because he can't make $100 bond. taxpayers' dollars. Using these strategies, it made it where the jail population was reduced by 50% and enacted bond reform and juvenile justice reform. Okay? When I hear, like, I read the mayor says, we can't keep our community safe if people just keep cycling through the system, because what that says to them is, I can do whatever I want. I can carry whatever I want. I can shoot up a crowd and I'm going to be back on the street. How does that make sense? That's what the mayor says. Johnson said many of the offenders are familiar to the police department. We know that these offenders are likely to continue their behavior that landed them in handcuffs in the first place. This is what Superintendent Johnson says. We know this because we keep arresting them over and over again. And if that's the case, then you should be in the courtroom telling the judge that you just arrested this individual with a gun that possibly was used in a crime. Like I read in the paper where the two guys that got shot up on the north side, and they found out that same gun was used in 2 more homicides on the south side. But that's not someone that they had arrested and got out on bond and came back on the street to continue to shoot innocent people. That's the person that hasn't been arrested. So where are their statistics? They said that they locked this guy up with a gun case, and he got back out. He called another gun case, and he's a suspect in a shooting. They should have that statistic because they're doing the arresting. Okay? So, but the president, from what I'm reading, but Pratt-Winkle sought to debunk the idea that the county's criminal justice reform efforts were to blame for the city's gun violence. Cook County's bond system is not the reason behind gun violence in Chicago, Pratt-Winkle writes in her letter. I just read you the letter. Gun violence was at its highest in 2016, but since then, as we instituted bail reform, the homicide rate in shootings has dropped substantially. The county courts now utilize a comprehensive assessment tool to examine the risk of whether individuals will engage in criminal activity or fail to appear for their court hearings. Of those who are arrested and who do enter the criminal court system, a recent report by the office of the Chief Judge, Timothy Evans, found that during an 18-month period that ended March 31st, only 0.6% of defendants who were released on bond were charged with a new violent offense. 0.6%. The number of no bail decisions. The number of no bail decisions, what that means, let me explain that to you. from a former felon's perspective. A no bail decision is when the judge feels that you are a threat to the community. Based off the post-sentencing, whatever it is that they check out. They check out your record. They check and see how many times you've been back to court, or how many times have you been arrested for the same crime. So if an individual coming in there and he's constantly getting arrested for carrying a gun, and he catch another case while he's fighting that case for carrying another gun, and heaven forbid that he catch a case where someone else got shot, he becomes the individual that the judge will say, no bond. Because that judge feels that you are a threat to society. And that's the truth of that matter. Ask anyone that's been locked up and watch it happen to others who are repeat offenders. The number of no bail decisions, according to the report that was done by the office of the chief judge, which is Tim Evans, the number of no bail decisions county judges have entered has increased nearly tenfold. Not 2 times, nearly tenfold. That means before they instituted the bail reform, if there was 1 no bond, it's now 10 no bonds. If it's 50 no bonds, that means it's 500 no bonds now. So I'm saying we got to stop letting someone try to create the impression that Mayor Lori, and President Tony is boxing with one another. Because sometimes enough is enough. You can't keep standing by and Tony's platform of criminal justice reform, that's what we need in Cook County. And here you got an insurgent, super white nationalist, white supremacist, coming in joining with the fraternal order police, leading the charge, talking about she don't work well with them. Well, I ain't heard the guy over the fraternal police say that them 2 officers that beat that little girl up in Marshall ought to be arrested. I ain't heard him call them a bad apple. And in my world of reality, if you ain't against it, you got to be with it. I ain't heard April 1st, the whole world saw it. Those racist guys that tied in with the fraternal order police and the aldermen that supported them stand there and a young man asked the man about Laquan McDonald, and the man said he should have been shot 18 times. Then he asked the man, would you repeat that? The man said, repeat your question. He repeated the question, and the man said he ought to have been shot 20 times. I didn't hear the fraternal police say, hey, that guy's not with us. He ought to be locked up for exciting a riot. Because they wanted to go back like it was, where they had a state's attorney that had no problem with covering up. No more fair prosecutions. We're talking about an unjust society is what they want to bring back. In 50 years, 50 years, has there been a police officer get charged, prosecuted, and found guilty by a jury of killing a citizen in the city of Chicago in 50 years. And here you have Fraternal Police want to bring that back. And those that's against Kim Foxx wants to bring that back too. Case in point, 4 Chicago cops were fired for last Laquan McDonald shootings cover-up. The police board, excuse me, the police board voted unanimously to fire those officers. Police board. I ain't heard Fraternal Police say that them officers was wrong for lying. No. I ain't heard Fraternal Police said that he was against the wall of silence, the blue wall of silence. I ain't heard none of that from him. And what he's saying and what he putting on paper is the way that he feel. And you talking about what Trump is doing, like what he did in North Carolina? This guy here, from his actions, from what I'm seeing from his actions, is worse. Because he's supposed to be about the business of serving and protecting. Back to the jail population myth. Reduction, we debunking that myth. We putting out the truth out there to show it to you. But just picture, had the mayor came to the meeting, this show wouldn't be about what it's about today or tonight. It would have been about the wonderful thing that the mayor and the president, President Tony and Mayor Lori, coming together to use what they got to make things right for their constituents, which is the citizens of Chicago. Like Tony reach and meet with mayors from other cities within Cook County or township presidents within Cook County, and they come to agreement how to utilize their resources. He's doing the same thing with Chicago. So for the mayor not to show. All she had to do was walk. They both on the 5th floor. All she had to do was walk through the door that she opened because Rahm Emanuel had closed the steel door on the 5th floor. When Lori got in, she gave the impression that that door would no longer be closed, giving all of us celebration of hope and feeling great with the image that the mayor was going to work with the county board president and the county board president can work with the mayor. So if she's not trying to work, then stop fooling the people, close the door. So we'll know what's really happening. You went to Springfield to meet with the governor? You went to Washington to try to meet with Trump? You can't walk across the hall to meet with the president of the county board? Regardless of what people say, this is what people are seeing. So we all got to come together. If you come together and bring what you got, man, and Tony share with you what she got, that'll bring all the churches together. That'll bring the aldermen together that don't talk to one another, because then they see their responsibilities and the accountability that they got to have, or the people looking for them to be accountable for their actions. That'll make the children in school seeing that, hey, things can get right. They working towards one another. That'll make it where everybody, from those on the streets and the community, the various social activists, can follow y'all lead. I believe the mayor and the president of the county board can put together an agenda about the solution about the violence. And I believe the governor needs to have somebody there to help put that agenda together for all of the vested interests to come and join in with that agenda. I know it can be done because those that was on the streets in the 90s from street organizations did that. And because we did that, we got support from the mayor's office by giving us resources, from the police department, knowing that whenever we assembled, it wasn't to have a gang meeting. That's why we had protests, but we was able to bring young African American men, 10,000 of them, to do a protest downtown to help avert a school teacher strike, to the point that a lot of them went to school, graduated from colleges. Now firemen, police officers, secretary, vice president in banks, and everything else. And I personally would like to be invited. Just to look, listen, and learn. I happened to be at a meeting that was called at City Hall as a guest of one of the union presidents. And I saw where they had all the unions come together. And I saw where the fraternal or police wasn't allowed at the table, but they were a guest by one of the union members, president of a union, same as I. Even though I was approached, Gator, how you get here? Who invited you here? I didn't see them ask the guy that was representing fraternal police that question. But I didn't get mad. I looked, I listened, and I learned. And after the meeting, they came to me and said, Gator, what do you think? And I told them, I think the unions need to get with the governor to help put the trades within the institutions to help prepare an individual to come out where he can become a journeyman, because he would have learned the trades within that institution to come back to be a productive citizen in the city of Chicago. I know that that works. It worked for me. My father was a labor foreman. When I came out the penitentiary, from behind the walls to the honor farm to the work release center, and I had a job there waiting. It was doing construction as a laborer. And the union rep allowed me the chance to join that union. Caller, I see you. Could you please state your name? Caller? Caller?
Hello?
Yes, I hear you. Could you please state your name?
Oh, yeah. OT.
Hey, you got to turn your TV down because I'm getting a echo in the studio.
Okay.
Okay,
How about now?
I can hear you. So, state your name, please.
OT. I just got a question. With all this political stuff going on and whatnot, why does the fight die down for guys like Larry Hoover and Jeff Fort, regardless to how the people label them? Why do the fight not go on for them?
You know, I'm glad you asked that question. The fight is on to free Larry and Jeff. But understand this. They don't want them brothers to be able to use their influence to talk to brothers that they can influence who are now fathers and grandfathers that can tell their grandchildren and their children what must be done or you will get no love. If they try to do it any other way, they're going to give them a RICO case and try to say that father or grandfather is trying to make them a better drug dealer. You follow what I'm saying? Okay. They want our children to keep shooting one another, disrespecting their elders. The media is pushing the narrative. Don't listen to the elders. They got a movement out where individuals feel like, understand me, you got a right to run for office. But don't make the reason you're running because you feel the person that's elected there is too old. You got to learn. So my thing is this. This is my call to all the brothers. My number is 312-371-6914. I'm asking you to give me a call because all the brothers that feel just like you do and just like I, let's set up a day where we can meet downtown and demand that we have a right to ask the mayor to support us and having a right to be able to go into the schools to tell the children the alternative to antisocial behavior and the consequences that come with the nonsense. And something else. For everyone who has called a gun case and you was released on bond and you didn't catch another gun case, call me. Because I'm going to be going to the county board next Thursday to speak on that. Because if you haven't caught another case, you should be able to be allowed a second chance with your life. Show that you're the majority and not the minority. Join me. They need to see us stand up. And for the brothers that's out there, send word through the street for the sisters that's being in the beauty salons and going to the gym and the spas. Put the word out there. This is the new human right order. We can't be dealing with no men that's going to bring harm around our babies by their actions and what they're doing. And brothers, if you're doing wrong, keep the wrong away from your family. Again, I'm making an appeal. If the world see us as being black men that's concerned about doing our share to help the mayor, the county board president, and the governor to be about public safety for our community. If we come together and do that, those that think that they can keep killing one another, there's a lot of people. I've been to community meetings, and they demanding that money be put in place for witness protection for those that going to stand up and going to tell on you. And then there's those that's speaking like a viper, saying that they ain't got no problem with doing something to help eradicate those that think that they can terrorize the community. And we don't need no vigilante situation. So brothers and sisters, if you caught a gun case and you got out on bond and you going back to court and you didn't catch another gun case, please call me 312-371-6914. 312-371-6914. Because I too used to carry a pistol. That's how I ended up going to the penitentiary. But I got a pardon from the governor. Not because I didn't commit the crime, but because of the work that I was allowed to put back within the community. Call me. Allow me and others like me to help you. I'm asking you, call me and join me and others just like me. Because I ain't the only one that's talking this. That brother just called in. He talking the same way I'm talking. I'm talking about free Larry and free Jeff because I know they can make a difference. I got to wrap it up. I get passionate about this. So I want to say, let us all pick up the phone, call the county board president, and call the mayor of the city of Chicago and ask them sisters to come together. And with that, I want to close with saying, to God be the glory. And that's my story.